This week on Dear Bros, lady is upset about double standards.
Stay tuned.
You're listening to Bro Down Podcast all fucking day. Oh, yeah.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Bro Down Podcast. I'm Tim Fulton.
I'm Andy Smith.
And this is Dear Bros, a segment where we talk about what Andy wears to every single podcast we have.
I'm like a cartoon character.
You
I have
need
the
to
same
change.
attire. To be fair, I have many of these shirts. It's
No.
not the same one.
I'm convinced it's the same one. There's no
It
proof
might be.
otherwise.
No, you can tell because there's holes in different parts of all the different shirts.
You ever see that episode of The Simpsons where Marge has to change her one dress that she has?
No.
It's a throwback to a better time.
Oh.
Anyway, this is Dear Bros segment where we rip advice column questions off the internet and we answer them ourselves with our own little bro brains. It's Andy's turn. Andy, what kind of question do you have for us today? Where the fuck is my water?
Kilts flying high. So, this one is titled Kilt wearing Scott endures repeated assaults. So, buckle up. My headphones are acting weird. Okay. Think I'm good now.
I'm buckled.
So, I married a proud Scotsman
Fair.
a year ago who often wears kilts.
Mistake number one.
Yeah. When we go out, women think nothing of coming over and lifting his kilt, which exposes him to anyone who has visual advantage. These women scream with glee and then become physically aggressive with their hands, just cock grabbing under the kilt. Frankly, I'm shocked and horrified anyone would do this. You notice how we don't even bat an eye. We're just like,
I'm internalizing it. I'm trying to hold in my ish.
So, the last time it happened, a woman ripped his kilt off and the police became involved. Originally, the police were going to charge my husband with the indecent exposure. After several hours, it became clear that it was the woman who assaulted my husband. The police kind of laughed it off. They didn't plan on doing anything further. We were furious. Why is there a double standard that women feel they can lift a man's kilt to expose and call it fun, yet the same woman would scream sexual assault if a man lifted their skirt? Women need to understand that lifting a man's kilt is sexual assault and should be treated as a crime that it is. Now, every time a woman does it, we immediately call the police and report the crime. The perpetrators are then shocked and angry that they are being arrested for a sex crime for something they thought was innocent fun and games. Your column reaches many readers. With your help, we can help women understand that doing this is unacceptable. I don't know if there's like a kilt pandemic of, cock grabbing women out there, but I can definitely see this happening.
100% I can see this happening.
Yeah.
Especially if you're going out and about. Forget it.
Yeah.
I do want to say that I don't think that women are just to blame. I could see guys being like, bro.
Oh, yeah.
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 But yeah, no, 100%. We do double standards here all the time. This is 1,000% a double standard.
Yeah.
And it is. It's sexual assault.
Yeah.
I do go back to something that you say all the time is that we can hurt women. So they should be afraid all the time. I'm doing you an exaggeration. But no, I do think that the double standard does come from that mentality of women should be more afraid of men because there is this level of
Threat. It's a threat level.
The threat level is a little bit higher. To women, the threat level is a little bit lower. Obviously, we're painting with broad strokes here. Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, but on a general scale, people view it as...
If Amanda Nunes lifted up my skirt, there would be a threat level.
Yeah, you'd have to do whatever she said.
I would be forced to.
Yeah, you would do whatever she said.
We're going with generic stereotypes that, the threat level is there, but it doesn't change the fact that, this is sexual assault.
Yeah, because when
I just want his...
When most... What'd you say?
A guy doesn't want his dick out in front of an entire bar. A little bit of a risky choice wearing a skirt out then, but to each their own.
Yes. Well, the guy's Scottish.
Yeah.
So if this dude was just like a hipster that wanted to wear kilts, I'd be like, well, maybe stop wearing kilts. But
you're victim blaming.
Yeah, I am.
No, I'm being genuinely serious there. I'm saying
That's true.
I'm saying it sarcastically, but dude,
that's true.
Do what the fuck you
Fair
want.
point. Fair point.
Do what the fuck you want.
But this dude legitimately, culturally, that's his gig. He wears kilts out.
Mm-hmm.
So But there is that weird thing in your brain where it does, at least for me, I agree. This woman's totally right.
Mm-hmm.
But in your brain, it's still like it's not as bad as a dude doing it to a woman. Like your knee-jerk initial thought of reading that is not like, what the fuck? You're just like, yeah, like that shouldn't happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it does come down to the like, if a guy complained about that, like, what the fuck? I'm going to call the cops. A lot of people in the bar probably be like, come on, dude. Like, she's not going to beat you up. What do you think? She's going to rape you?
You know, that's an interesting point. I'm going to say it in a weird way. It's kind of lucky he has his wife there.
Yes.
Because if she gets upset about it and says we're calling the cops, people will be like a little bit more understanding to it.
She's like the speaking point, like the attorney or whatever in between, where it's like, because she's upset, it's not only coming from like this guy who's going to be judged by just trying to, it's like, he's going to be mad at a girl for lifting up a skirt. It's like, really, bro? Like, you're going to call the cops on her? That's a little out of control.
Yeah.
Whereas if it was the other way around, like, you wouldn't have to call the cops because somebody else would have already called the cops.
Yeah. Or beat the
fuck
shit
out of you. See, that's an interesting point. So let me ask you this. If a girl walked up to him, lifted his skirt, and grabbed his, shillelagh, and the wife fucking punched her in the face, what do you think happens when the cops show up?
So there's
just I'm not talking about like, I'm talking at a bar, X amount of times out of 100. Like the initial, like, what's going on here, versus if a guy lifted up a woman's skirt, grabbed her fucking, opposite of shillelagh. Yeah, grabbed her pussy. And then the dude knocked him out.
So
I think one would be looked at like a defender of somebody else's safety, and the other person's going to get looked at like a troublemaker. More so than not.
I say this in a weird way. So I don't have as much going out experience as you do. And I don't mean that like you're like a party animal or whatnot. But
no, I worked in a lot of bars.
You were a bouncer for a long time. So you were at bars night after night for a very long time.
Yeah.
And specifically straight bars, and this does play a part into that because it's a different atmosphere as gay bars, because gay bars, for the most part, are mostly men, dealing with other men. So it's just a different atmosphere,
way different.
Yeah, it's very different. So my gut reaction would be to say in both situations, two people are getting arrested, but that's me seeing it, I think, with rose-colored glasses on. One person for assault, one person for sexual assault. And I can see that on both scenarios, but I can see the connotation being different too. So I don't know how that would actually play out in real life.
So I'll give you an example. There was one time I was working.
Yeah.
And a girl came into the bar. Now, I had a little bit of background on what the situation was with this girl and another girl. One of the other girls had done something with that other girl's significant other. I wasn't fond of either of them. So when it came in, I was kind of like, we can either deal with this drama or I can just allow this to happen now and just like stop it from here. So I made an executive decision, not the choice that you should have made, but I just let her in. She just beelined right to the girl. They start jawing for about a couple seconds, and the girl that walked in just sits back and cracks her in the face. They start fighting. I went over, picked her up, basically like over my shoulder, walked her outside, placed her outside. She starts mouthing off to me, fuck you, let me back in the bar, and tries to push me back, like all this stuff. Now, that right there, if that was a guy that did that, every single other bouncer in the bar would have been on top of it. And not only that, if they did anything like that outside the bar, different story. Like, things would have escalated way beyond words, and probably not the cops will be called, but it would have been dealt with.
Yeah.
the way that happened, it was basically like, all right, you punched a girl and like, just don't come in, please, anymore. But it was like, sat there and it's like everyone's looking around like, yeah, you can't really do anything about it. Like, you just have to listen to it, and you know, just you can't make her. You kind of just have to get in the way, and if she starts slapping you or something, you just have to kind of stand there.
Yeah.
Even being a working member of the bar.
Yeah.
So countless other situations, guys don't even do anything. They might just be like talking to a girl too much and get dragged out by their throat. Right?
Yeah.
One other situation that was rare was I was working in the bar. This guy that was there all the time slapped some guy's wife's ass and grabbed it. The husband turned around and corkscrewed him right into the ground. I saw the whole thing. And then he immediately walked out to leave. And I just held the door for him. Have a good night. I get yelled at. What'd you let him out for? He said, dude, the guy just sexually assaulted his wife.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, but you know, we got to call it. He just assaulted somebody in here. I said, the guy was attacking his wife to a certain degree, sexual assault, unwanted physical contact of a sexual nature. And he defended his wife. But you want him because you know the guy or he's a regular? Like, I don't understand. Like, what? I don't understand that at all.
Yeah.
Right? But in my eyes, after that little discussion, it got dropped and it was totally fine. But, like, it just shows the difference of, like, how we treat certain situations with, like, girls hitting other girls. It's like, all right, calm down, everybody relax. Guy hits another guy. It's like, okay, calm down, everybody relax. But, like, if it's girl versus guy or guy versus girl, that's when it goes sideways. That's when it goes the other way. Countless times I've seen women slapping, throwing punches at guys, and they know they just don't do anything.
Yeah, they can't do it.
And a lot of times the guy gets kicked out over the girl.
Yeah.
If you see a guy hit a girl, it will be repaid, so to speak. So there's definitely a double standard when it comes to it. And honestly, I kind of tend to agree with the double standard to a certain extent.
I can see the threat level element of it.
I'm not saying that you should have to allow somebody to touch you or whatever that you don't want. You can't do that. But there is an element of, like, you can't react in a way that somebody who's afraid is going to react if you know that there's no threat there.
Yeah.
Like, if a girl tries to lift up your skirt and grab your dick, you're like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Like, the fuck, dude? Like, and just, whereas if a guy grabs a girl and she punches him, I'm fine with that. I'm totally fine with that. Like, first time.
Yeah.
First time it happens. Whereas, like, the guy doing it, I don't know. I guess I would be okay with it. I guess it's frowned upon. You know what I'm saying? Like, what do you think about that? Like,
I don't know. See, I do kind of agree with you, but I'm trying to, like, hash out inside of me internally if I'm correct with that knee-jerk
that's what I'm saying. I don't know.
issue, or if I'm like, we have to even the playing field out in terms of, like, legality and all that other bullshit. Like, is my preconceived notions of how these things should play out correct, or no, everyone should be treated a specific way and the threat level should be ignored?
In a perfect world,
in a perfect world, should we be aiming for that perfect world shit, or should we be going with our gut feeling? And the answer is probably somewhere in between. So it's probably a situation by situation thing. But then, even then, it gets a little hazy because, like, I don't know. What if, like, if it's situation by situation, then it's up to people's interpretations. And then you don't know if you have you as a bouncer or if you have Joe Schmo as a bouncer. I know a guy named Joe Schmo, by the way. It's funny.
That's hilarious.
I know. His name is Joe Schmolinski.
Joe Schmo.
Joe Schmo.
Shout out to Joe Schmo.
He's this Italian guy, right?
Okay.
He's this adorable, cute little Asian guy. He was adopted when he was a kid, so his name is Joe Schmo. But he's this little Asian dude, and he's one of the best people.
It doesn't fit.
It doesn't fit at all. And he used to play in an Irish band, which is funny. He plays bagpipes.
That's like that Starburst commercial with the Japanese guy that's speaking Scottish.
Yeah. He's adorable.
Yeah.
What's up, Joe Schmo? Anyway, I probably just like, I don't know. Anyway, so what was the moral of my story? I don't know. So yeah, I don't know where I really lie, because the answer's probably somewhere in the middle, but is it? I don't know. Is there an answer?
Yeah.
Or should we just kill everyone on Earth?
I don't know. I think that that's a rough one. It's a rough one.
Hard.
I think that guys to some extent have to show restraint, but at the same time, they should get credit for showing restraint. It shouldn't just be you have to take all the abuse in the world always and never like have to be afraid that you're going to go to jail by like pushing someone away because you don't want to get your dick grabbed.
Yeah, and to this woman specifically, it's funny because even I, as a relatively progressive person, like when they were like, every time it happens, we call the police. And part of me, like, inside is like...
Narcs.
Narcs. Part of me is like, that's kind of an overreaction, but at the same time, it also isn't. Like, I have two feelings at the same time.
I agree. You're split between like, you don't want it to happen, but the only way to get it to not happen is to make people fear the consequence of what's going to happen.
Yeah.
But the problem is that the people that do it don't know the consequence because they've never done it before.
Yeah. So it's almost like they're working towards a systematic change. So in a way, good job, because you're now putting on a public forum, 2 public forums if we ever have a public. But
yeah.
But like, it's like they're going for like a systematic change, one instance at a time. I don't know. It's bizarre to me. I don't know how I feel about this whole thing. I don't want him to be molested.
No.
I should put that out there.
For situations like this, and I'm not downplaying like the shit, because again, on the other side of it, if a guy did this to a woman, that's like jail time. Like you're like, but I'm not trying to downplay it, but with things like this, I just wish that like quote unquote like street justice would be served in the moment, so that as like a society we would know. Like there's certain things you just know that you don't do, right? You don't spit in someone's face. Like shit like that.
It's almost like,
you know, not to lift a woman's skirt up.
It's almost like if you saw a guy sexually assault a woman in this fashion, you know, and just hearing this, so you don't actually have to be in the situation, but you know what could happen. You could be like, I'm going to hurt this man, and it's probably going to be okay. Yeah. But you see this happen, and in your heart of hearts, you're like, I can't, and I want one of those women to do it.
Yes, because it has to be even.
Because it has to be even. But I can't tell a woman, hey, I want you to hurt her. So you're kind of like watching something else unfold. And again, broad brush, women can hurt men. Amanda Nunes, please don't hurt me. But the vast majority of times, you can't have a woman hurt a man, and a man shouldn't hurt a woman. So like, you can't cross sexes that way. You can sometimes. The majority of the time you can. That's my point.
I agree.
I'm trying to step lightly here.
As much as I think that, like, you know, I think it's a good thing that people know how to defend themselves and all that shit. And people should take it upon themselves to learn or be in some kind of awareness about like things that can go wrong and have some kind of a plan, whether it be training in martial art or whatever. But at the same time, I don't think somebody should have to worry about getting into a fight when they're sexually assaulted in a public place.
Yeah.
Like, you are responsible for your own safety to some degree, in my opinion, because you can't rely on anybody else. But the fact that, like, you shouldn't have to rely on that as a base level of, like, enjoying a night out. Because not like women in general, it's like they don't want to get into a fucking fight. I mean, most guys don't want to get into fights. No. So it's like, yeah, like you can do that, like, but you don't want to. Like, you're just there to not. That's the furthest thing from your mind. And then somebody lifts up your husband's kilt and grabs his thing, and you're like, now I gotta fucking punch this bitch. And then what if they're like in their 50s?
Yeah. Like,
what do you do then?
Is it justice across the board? Like, what if they're in their 60s?
Yeah.
I know some raunchy 60-year-olds, like.
Yeah.
And you just don't know. It's bizarre.
They're gonna have to revisit this on that double standard thing.
We are gonna have to revisit this. I will. This is like moderately related to what we're talking about. I'm just gonna mention this real quick, and then we're gonna see what Abby has to say.
Okay.
But I did do. I think I've talked about this before on the podcast, but my brother used to do a self-defense
Yes.
class for women out there, and one of the things, it was never explicitly said in the class, but kind of the point of it wasn't, we're going to teach you how to hurt people. It was, we're going to teach you, like, how to get the fuck out.
That's what the goal should be for that.
Yeah.
Is to get away.
To get away. And, like, we would do, I mean, really the moral of the class was, like, be loud. Don't go to the second location.
Extend your time.
Extend your time. Like, literally, if someone, like, is being creepy on you, get fucking loud. And don't do what he says. That's it. That's it.
Yeah, you want to extend your time that you have, because the longer that you extend your time, the more likely that somebody's going to be aware of the situation.
Yeah. But, like, we never taught women how to, like, this is how you box. We never taught women this is how you wrestle. We taught women, like, if you get in this position, eyes, throat, crotch, run. We actually would have them practice turn, run.
Like if you only had, say, like 5 times with somebody.
Yeah.
Like I would be hard pressed to disagree with that kind of an approach.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to teach somebody some intricate or like hardcore. Like you can teach them a couple things that they'll remember when they're panicked.
Yeah.
That are more effective. That you don't really need a lot of skill. Like just find their eye. It might give you the opportunity where he loosens a grip for a little bit or whatever.
Yeah. And we were mostly talking about, like, you can catch guys off guard because no one's expecting this petite little girl to be all of a sudden screaming and like going for your eyes. Like, people expect. Anyway, so let's see what Abs has to say on this.
Okay. Dear Double, it is no more acceptable to lift a man's kilt in the name of fun than it would be to pull his trousers down. It's the same thing. I hope any person reading this who didn't have the common sense to know better will take note of the respect personal space of a Scotsman and all individuals. It beats finding one's name on a sex offender registry.
That's a good point. Dude, doing that is the exact same thing as pantsing guy in the middle of a bar.
Real quick, I don't mean to make this any longer than it has been, but let me ask you a question. When it comes to...
You just did.
No. Let me ask you a question.
You just did.
When it comes to sexual assault in the registry, I don't know how that system works. And what is your feeling on if somebody did that because they're drunk or they're dumb or they lack judgment? Do you think that they should be on a sexual assault list? Because to me, it's like that is for like sexual predators and like offenders that are doing it for that reason.
I agree with you. I don't want to get into specifics because, like you, I don't know the specifics.
Exactly. Yeah,
but I think even a dude, I'm gonna make this as hardline as possible. Imagine you're 22 years old, you're hammered at a bar, you see this pretty girl, you get way out of line.
Yeah.
You don't do that sort of thing, but you make a colossal mistake. I think you should pay for it. Abso-fucking-tootly. Do I think for the rest of your life you have to go to all of your neighbors, knock on their door and say, "Hi, nice to meet you. I'm a registered sex offender"? No, that might be a little bit overkill.
That's what I mean.
So it's one of those things where the registry itself is probably necessary and warranted, but is overreaching like friggin' crazy.
I just put them in 2 different categories because it's like you're putting them in there with people that have done horrifically atrocious crimes.
You
and
could
it
have
like
someone
waters it down.
Yeah, you could literally have someone who's a pedophile who has been a multiple.
And they're in the same list.
They're in the same list. So I agree with you there. It's that's a little wonky.
Yeah.
That's a whole separate topic. But yeah that whole system is a little bit archaic. It worked at the time. It's not working now. It's working now, but not as well as it should.
Yeah. I think that we never answered her question, but I think they're doing.
She didn't have a question. She just wanted people aware. And we're awareing you.
Yeah, don't lift kilts. Don't sexually assault people.
Don't sexually assault people. Ask permission first. Can I sexually assault? Some people say yes.
Yeah, then it's not assault.
Well, then it's play.
Yeah, it's not assault. Isn't that weird?
What are the initials? CNC? Consensual non-consent.
What is that?
It's role play. It's rapey role play.
Oh. Yeah, that whole consent thing is like taking out paperwork on a first date. It's weird.
No one ever said anything about date. All right, guys, let us know what you think about this topic in the comment section down below. There wasn't even really a question here. What do you think about women sexually assaulting men? What do you think about men sexually assaulting women? Please don't get creepy. Don't forget to go to brodownpro.com. We have a portal open so you can actually ask us your own questions if you so choose. There's a little thing up at the top. You can leave your email address if you so choose to. We will let you know when we're going to air the question. Other than that, I'm Tim Fulton.
I'm Andy Smith.
Thanks.
This has been
Right,
Dear
this
Bros.
You're listening to Bro Down Podcast all fucking day.